executive Michael Lombardi. Now here is your host, Stormy Buonantony, on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Thanks for hanging out with us on this Wednesday edition of the Lombardi Line. This show, as always, presented by DraftKings alongside three-time Super Bowl winning executive Michael Lombardi. I'm Stormy Buonantony. The madness of March continues tomorrow, and we will break down some of the Sweet 16 games with our guy Harry Gagnon, as well as former Final Four head coach Tom Green in a little bit later on this hour. But it's also Pro Day season, Michael, that rolls on today in Baton Rouge. Jaden Daniels, Malik Nabers, field, and we've already seen some little news items trickle out that Jaden Daniels is 6'3", 210 pounds, so he was getting the grub on ahead of today to make sure that he could make weight. And then Malik Nabers running a 4.35 40. Some other scouts had him at 4.36. His second one 4.4, so he's showing himself pretty well here so far early.
Yeah, and weighing, what did he weigh, 200 pounds? I mean, he's big, he's fast, he makes plays. The tape backs up everything that he does. He's sensational. He's got great body control. He's got that length that you want, that catch radius, which is so damn important. And look, Daniels at 210. I mean, everybody thought he would come in at 185, and I don't know what he looked like when they measured him. They usually take his shirt off, but I'm sure he's been working out hard. And look, he's only going to get bigger and stronger as he just does this for a living as opposed to having to go to school and do other things. So, his tape, again, he backs it up. He's made a lot of plays. He's done it at Arizona State. Then he had a brief hiatus there where he wasn't as good as we thought. And then he went to LSU and has been everything that we thought he could be. So, and he's improved. Yeah. He's improved a lot. And I think that's kind of the trend we're seeing, Stormy, in this draft here, is guys have transferred. Guys have been good, and then they went somewhere else. Penix, Indiana to Washington. Good at Indiana, bad at Indiana, great at Washington. Bo Nix, not so good at Auburn, good as freshman year. Transfers to Oregon, all of a sudden becomes great. Caleb Williams, good at both places. So this transfer portal has benefited these quarterbacks because it's gotten them to an offense that has highlighted their skill set.
Yeah, and to your point about the transfer and finding that right pairing, whether it be with a head coach or a coordinator or whatever it is, now we got to see if these quarterbacks can find that at the next level with whatever team ultimately drafts them. Jaden Daniels, of course, capping his final year in college with 50 total touchdowns, had over 1,100 yards on the ground, 10 of those touchdowns coming in the rushing form as well. A really, really special talent. He's an odds-on favorite to go number 2 overall, minus 125, despite all of the steam that has come up in the past 48 hours on J.J. McCarthy, who already had his pro day. And if you listen to Jim Harbaugh, the best one ever in the history of pro days, the way that it seems so far. One interesting wrinkle that's come out of Baton Rouge, though, today, our good friend of the show, Albert Breer, MMQB, Sports Illustrated. He says the Patriots, Michael, have 9 guys in attendance at the LSU Pro Day, including, of course, Elliott Wolf and Gerard Mayo. What does that say to you about their potential interest in this guy?
Well, it says they're interested. It doesn't say anything other than that. Because they were there in Orlando, and you always want to bring your coordinator to the quarterback workout. And they're going to go see Drake May tomorrow, so let's just grab this and do it all in one time. I'm sure they spent time with Daniels. Did they take him out to dinner? I don't know. But eventually they'll bring Daniels up to Foxborough and spend time with them there. That's the thing that's really more important than who's at the workout. It's who comes on to the facility. And I'm sure New England will have Daniels in their building where they can sit down and spend time with them one-on-one, let him meet everybody, kind of pick his brain on what he was doing, watch tape together, and really get an extensive study of his character and his football knowledge.
Yeah, that's a great point. Everybody will be leaving Baton Rouge today and heading up to Raleigh, North Carolina to see Drake May tomorrow. Michael Penix Jr. also having his pro day at Washington coming up tomorrow. Let's stick with the Patriots, though, here, Michael, because every day on the show, we've been doing a new edition of What's on Michael's Mind. So different topics, big or small, whatever's racking through your brain. And today's topic does have to do with that team in Foxborough. What's going on?
Well, I think to me, when I woke up this morning early and I was getting ready to start writing, I read Julian Edelman's comments about Dynasty, and along with Matthew Slater, and I just felt like we've had so much of the ex-players kind of come to the defense of Coach Belichick in terms of really, destroying this infomercial that was produced by the Kraft family about the Patriot Way, which was really all about them. It was an infomercial. And I thought Julian, who has a great relationship with Mr. Kraft and is really, in conversations with him, but I think he really let it out. And he also said about Wes Welker, that Wes was lying about things with Hernandez because he personally said that, he heard Belichick coach Hernandez really hard. And I think that, and then he called out Welker saying, look, you just don't like Belichick. That's why you're doing it. So the honesty that I think Edelman brought to the table was tremendous. And this whole document series where Kraft, he pretends he had nothing to do with it, and all of a sudden he's a fan again, but he had nothing to do with it, when it was all about him. I mean, what Dan Shaughnessy wrote in a column for the Boston Globe, he said that, he got Rupert Murdoch to make him look like Jonas Salk. Those are Dan Shaughnessy's words, not mine. And so this was all about promoting Kraft for the Hall of Fame and trying to destroy the head coach who helped them win 6 Super Bowls or played a huge part in winning 6 Super Bowls. And Edelman, Gronk, McCourty, Slater, all of them have come out against this, and I think it's tremendous.
Yeah, Rodney Harrison as well. That exact quote, though, in reference to the Aaron Hernandez doing whatever he wanted to do at practice, I love this here from Julian Edelman. Come on, Welk, trying to make up stories. We all know you don't like Bill. I love Welker, too, but you clearly can tell that he hates Bill. And both he and Matthew Slater talked at length on what is called the Games with Names podcast. They wanted the audience to get to see two sides of Bill that was very clearly painted in one side of things. Here's more from the podcast with Edelman and Slater.
Have you been watching The Dynasty?
I have been. I have been watching. This is interesting, this Dynasty. Some comments that I made on there that made it seem like Bill was just this very demanding presence. And he was, but I also want people to see there are multiple sides of Bill. He's being portrayed in a certain light. And
if you're in your 30s and you've played football, I don't think you ever liked your football coach. You loved him. Just like I didn't like my parents when they made me do things that they knew was going to make me a better person. We didn't like doing it, but we needed it.
Right. Let's make sure none of us forget the fact that the Dynasty is not even being talked about without Bill Belichick.
He won 6 Super Bowls, Michael. He took the team to 9, won another 2 Super Bowls as a coordinator with the Giants. You think that type of success happens just on a whim, just on a fluke? No, he did things a certain way, and it led to success.
Yeah, but, they didn't focus on that, Stormy. And so what happens is because the lack of honesty and because of the overt behavior and where the focus was centered, it rendered this whole documentary useless. It really did. Even the critics of Belichick have come out to defend him because they don't even believe what's being said. Now, Kraft divorced himself from it. He moved away, said, I didn't know what was going on. Of course you didn't. Just like he didn't know about the facilities, that nobody likes the facilities. He just found that out, even though he works out in the weight room all the time. So it's hilarious that that this distortion. And when you read about it, whether it's from the Boston Globe or whether it's from Greg Bernard or anybody that talks about it, it's just so bad. And I find satisfaction in the players because I was in the building. I know what was going on in the building. They didn't interview me for the documentary. They didn't touch on the 14. They didn't touch on the positives. They focused 2 serious shows. I have watched none of it. This is all from friends. On Hernandez and the Flake or Spygate.
Yeah.
Seriously. I mean the value of their franchise is over $7 billion. I think he had something to do with that.
Let's hear straight from the horse's mouth because you mentioned Robert Kraft's reaction to it. Here are his public comments.
I felt bad that there was so much emphasis on the more controversial and, let's say, challenging situations over the last 20 years. I wish they had focused more on our Super Bowl wins, our 21-game win streak. I'll state this clear. I feel so privileged that we had Bill here, and, we hope when he's finished that we're going to have a chance to honor him.
Saying the right things, Michael, but saying in action, the things you say in your actions are very different things.
He didn't answer the question. They asked him if Bill was being treated unfairly, and he went into the monologue about how he wants to put him in the Patriot Hall of Fame. Look, in my world, I think people see this for what it is. And, and the fact that they didn't use a lot of the players' quotes in the right way, and this was framed. But this all goes back to the book Dynasty by Jeff Benedict. That book was written for, essentially the purpose of that book was to get Kraft in the Hall of Fame. That's why that book came out, to give him credit for the dynasty, to get him in the Hall of Fame, when he should just stand back and realize he hired the greatest coach of all time. That should get him in the Hall of Fame. That's what got Edward DeBartolo in the Hall of Fame. Edward DeBartolo didn't sit there and try to say, I want credit for all the winning. Edward DeBartolo did a tremendous thing. He hired Bill Walsh, and Bill Walsh won Super Bowls, and Bill Walsh built an organization that Eddie was in charge of, and that got him in the Hall of Fame. But when you're trying to get in something, it looks too fishy, and this just screams of fishy.
Yeah, and to your point, a lot of players have come out, said they felt duped by the production company that put this together and how their words were taken. So it's very interesting. The only person who hasn't spoken out about it, Bill Belichick, because, he minds his business. We're going to hit the break here real quickly. The Patriots' new era, by the way, they're 25-1 in the AFC East. Win total set at 4.5, 8-1 to make the playoffs.
If you didn't catch the handle, here's what you missed.
All of the buzz around the entire NFL offseason was the Jags and how good the Jags were going to be, and this is when they were going to take the step and they were going to get it done. And now that has really shifted towards the Texans, and probably rightfully so, right? I mean, the Texans have really built something there. If you are a Texans fan, you should feel warm and fuzzy on the inside, and not just from C.J. Stroud's play, but kind of how they built this organization here, Mike. Like they really did do a rebuild, and the rebuild is kind of coming to shape with what they were trying to get done. And so now you see this Jags team where people are all off of the Jags. We said when these odds started popping up, we're like, are people disrespecting the Eagles a little bit? Are people disrespecting the Jags a little bit?
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
And I part of the issue with the Jags isn't just personnel. It's the way they lost games last year, and it's really the way they've lost games for 2 years now.
The Handle with Matt Brown and Mike Somich. Weekends at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Is your bracket busted? Let VSiN help you salvage this tournament by giving you the betting tools, advice, and picks you need. Every show is delivering daily picks, game breakdowns, and betting strategies direct from the VSiN experts. Check out our detailed betting splits for every game and sharpen your edge with daily articles and exclusive insights on VSiN.com. That's VSIN.com. Join us on VSiN to help make you a sharper bettor and become part of the sports betting network. At VSiN, we've got you covered before, during, and after every game. Jumpstart your game day with Tim Murray and Jonathan Von Tobel on VSiN Primetime at 6 Eastern. They'll get you ready before the first tip, puck drop, and pitch, ensuring you're ahead of the game. Then stay in the loop during all the action with the Greg Peterson Experience at 9. And as the night wraps up, join Matt Humans and Wes Reynolds on VSiN Tonight at 11, giving you the first look at tomorrow's lines to get an edge on the next day's bets. All this and more, only on VSiN, the sports betting network. Looking for the ultimate sports betting podcasts? VSiN has got you covered. With a wide range of podcasts covering every major sport, we're here to help you make smarter bets every season. Hardwood Handicappers offers daily NBA analysis and picks from VSiN's top hosts and experts. And check out Long Shots, where we deep dive into the world of golf betting, providing you with expert insights to help you bet every tournament. Find all of these podcasts and more at VSiN.com/podcasts or your favorite podcast platform.
Coming up Monday on Follow the Money, we know the Final Four of the men's and women's draw. Only 2 weeks left in the NBA regular season, and we take a look at the MLB card. Follow the Money weekday, 7 to 10 a.m. Eastern on VSiN, the sports betting network.
We're all about giving our players new and exciting ways to get in on the action. With my stat sheet, you can check out your play history and performance over time to make sure you're always playing within your means. Because when it comes to betting, it's more fun when it's for fun. The crown is yours.
This is the Lombardi Line with former NFL executive Michael Lombardi. Now here is your host, Stormy Buonantony, on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
If you like the Lombardi Line, you're going to love the GM Shuffle podcast as well. Our guy, Michael Lombardi, former NFL GM, gives his unfiltered, full-blown opinion on players, teams, coaching decisions every single Monday and Thursday throughout the year. You can download and subscribe to the GM Shuffle podcast from VSiN and DraftKings today, wherever you get your podcasts. We are rolling along on the Lombardi Line. Stormy Buonantony and Mike Palm in today. And we'll get into some more college basketball talk because March, they call it madness for a reason. And we've already seen 1 seeds out after it was such a big deal. So I want to get your perspective on this before we dive into a couple of these Elite Eight games, because we saw the dogs in the early first round. Everything was coming up. Favorites took back over in the round of 32. Now we're seeing a little more upset watch. Is that, like, how tough is that not to see trends carry over from round to round from a betting perspective?
Probably good for the book that people can't bet into the trends. We're lucky because I know a lot of books had a tough weekend Saturday, Sunday with the teams winning money line. Only one upset outright. But we're different because we get sharp action and contrarian action. So, I mean, it's been a good – it's like the hold's a little less than we would have thought, but it's not tragic. And we won all 4 games. We managed to make a small winner on Saturday. Because we get that. So we are not like in lockstep with everybody else. I think when you say the first 1 seed out in Carolina, there was really, it's UConn, and then it's Houston, Purdue, and then it's right. I mean, I think there's lines of demarcation on how good teams were. The fourth one was, it wasn't going to be Tennessee. Could they, if they did better in the SEC tournament? Could Arizona, if they had won the Pac-12, gotten it? It was kind of, Iowa State made a claim for it, like 3 or 4 teams that were kind of that 4, 5, 6, throw them together in a hat. Carolina wasn't a typical one. They backed into it because everybody else struggled, and they won all their regular season ACC games and got to the final of the tournament before losing to NC State. So I don't think it's that shocking. I know people, because Alabama didn't play defense and had a much better first half of the year than second, were a little surprised. And Carolina had a 10-point lead. They were up 8 at half. There were several chances kind of to put them away. They didn't do it.
Yeah, they should have won the game.
Right?
As somebody who had a North Carolina future, it's very frustrating watching how that game played out, especially late, seeing you're up 1 and you take a 3 with 15 seconds left on the shot clock. Like, how do you let that happen? I don't get it. So there were a lot of moments like that were just frustrating, and kudos to Alabama, who finds themselves in the Elite Eight, trying to punch their ticket, them and Clemson trying to punch their first ticket to the Final Four. So somebody's going to get it. It'll be great. I'm excited for this matchup, this game, because Clemson is playing so well. But I was a little bit surprised to see at open, Alabama was a favorite, which, okay, 1.5-point favorite, immediately bet up to 3.5.
DraftKings to 3, here to 3. So a friend of mine, Matt Novak, we almost have identical tickets in terms of to pay money, right? He has Alabama and I have Clemson. So maybe our hedge is to share, like give each other a percentage so that we have a team into the Final Four. He has Alabama at 55-1 for 500, right? And I have 125-1 for 250. So it's almost the identical payout, right? The stake in the ticket. And so before a line was going to come out, right as, like Alabama shooting free throws with 1 second left. He said, what's this number going to be? We're texting on the phone. He lives in Omaha. And I said, I think it's 1 or 1.5, because he said, do you think it's 3? I said, I really make the game 1 or 1.5. And then he texted me. He says, you were right and I was right. It opened 1 and it went to 3.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And he's like, at 3, I like Clemson. So maybe that's how we monetize our positions, because it's funny we hook up our teams in the final. They're playing at a very elite level, as I mentioned earlier.
That's very fortunate, though, that you got that to work out where you're in this position.
So,
absolutely.
And the bad part is, though, that's the 4 region that lines up with UConn, so you can't get them all the way to the final, likely. Look, Clemson's playing at a very elite level. They're as I said, very good with their hands. They didn't shoot free throw well, but I love them because in a close game, they make all their free throws. They shoot almost 80% as a team. Alabama, I think, has more flaws. Alabama has more variance in their game. If you told me Alabama beat him, I'm not going to be shocked. But I like Clemson in this spot, and I like him at 3. So that's why I wouldn't, if I didn't like him, I'd be more apt to maybe get a third of the position off, because I'm going to get off on UConn, right? I don't think they're going to beat UConn.
Well, and to your point, too, I heard a ton of people making an argument in the Sweet 16 for Clemson. A ton of people. I don't recall anybody making a case for Alabama going into that game with North Carolina. Like everything that I was seeing across the board was the best bet of the day is UNC -4. I was seeing that all over the place.
I saw a lot of it, a lot of that, and they're not losing. There's no way they're losing. You know, Alabama got a good first-round matchup with the team that wants to play their same.
Why believe in them so much now, I guess, was where I was going with that.
They wanted to play. They got a team in Charleston that wants this like Alabama light, right? It's not going to drive the basket on them. They're going to play their style, and they ran them out.
We knew that was going to be an over.
Right? Well, 200 points.
Jeez.
And then in the second round, I mean, it was a crazy game, right? The game was drunk, I think. They said, the announcer said. By the way, I'm very critical of announcers. You know that. Even though I think Franz Fraschilla right now is the best color guy in college basketball, I think all these crews have been very good listening to these games. And Ben Gundy's good for somebody that doesn't really call the college game and comes in at the end. Like Barkley and Kenny Smith are like comic relief, right, in the studio kind of. But Ben Gundy was very good last night. And they're not afraid to say, and Jim Jackson was very when these guys are making bad decisions and not aware of situations and taking shots that are very low percentage. I mean, which is good. So I think the crews have done a good job. That game was crazy, though. But, like, there was very little high basketball quotient, IQ on that time in that game. It was just everybody was going to the hole in that game against Grand Canyon, right? And I was sort of disappointed that Grand Canyon didn't have a little bit more poise in that game. So you could kind of say, look, Alabama got a lucky draw, and then they got a team that didn't play very well, smart against them. So there's some excuses, and down the road they gave up so many points. But I mean, you can't really quibble. Although Carolina had control of the game more than they did, they made the plays down the stretch. They shot the ball better, took better shots, and they deserved the win. I actually thought there was a world where this game might be a pick'em. That I thought that it would open one and people would bet Clemson, but no, sir.
How about the other game coming up Saturday? Top seed UConn, open 7.5, quickly goes up to 8.5, taking on Illinois. The total went down from 156.5 to 155.5. TD Garden, virtual home game for UConn once again. Ken Pom has this as 6-point game. Yep. But looking through, so since UConn got healthy, like fully healthy in January, the only team that's beat them is Creighton. They scored 85 points and hit 14 threes to do so.
They beat them by 20.
Yes.
In Omaha.
Yes.
Yep.
What I keep hearing is that if there is a team remaining that could do that, it might be Illinois. Brad Underwood has the nation's number 2 offense in Ken Pom, one of the country's most talented offensive players in Terrence Shannon. What do you think? If there is a team that could do it, could it be Illinois in the Elite Eight?
They give you matchup problems, but they don't turn you over enough. I don't think they create enough extra possessions on the defensive end of it, and I think they're going to run into a problem like San Diego State ran into, where they're going to get killed on the boards. Yeah, I don't see it happening. I'm not even. I don't know. I guess if the game
50 to 29, is that what I said earlier? 50 to 29,
maybe 27. I don't even something like that. I don't think there's a scenario. I could make an argument for the over because Illinois will play fast. And I think if they get behind and you can get a game that's 6-8 points as you come down the stretch and get a lot of fouls, you'll also be aided in that to get this game over 155.5. But I can't pull the trigger on the side.
I said what I said about Illinois to play devil's advocate exclusively because I'm all in on UConn. Like after what I have witnessed just game in and game out from this team, I find it very, very hard to believe that they're going to lose. The spread, different story, 8.5. I still, based on everything that we've seen the last 2 years in the tournament, I feel like you have to still feel pretty comfortable laying 8.5, even though it is against a good team. And I love the Dan Hurley post game yesterday. We suck in close games, so we have to settle for the alternative.
He's always crying, isn't he?
I hope that his wife, does what she needs to do with the dragon underwear or whatever. I don't know.
You're Doja Cat now. I said what I said. I still don't lay points like this. Right? I just don't play these games. Like, taking to a mall with 12, I said, you're going to lay there. I don't want to do that.
Huge spread for an Elite Eight.
I'd much rather play games where the margin is, 3 to 6 points. I think there's more control from an in-game perspective when you do that. But, yeah, this team is special. How do you feel, like, going in when you go back in time a year, how did you feel heading into the championship game last year? How optimistic were you that San Diego State was going to be the national championship?
Not optimistic. Right. My hope was that it would be a close game. And I felt based on the amount of defense of San Diego State that maybe they could keep it close. Yeah. Maybe they could keep it under double digits. And they did for a second. They brought it back within like 5 or 7 late. They end up ultimately losing that game by 17. They lose by 30 yesterday. I just feel like this team has a way of getting out with a larger lead fast.
They did it to Northwestern. All of a sudden, it's 20.
Yes.
It's just like, boom. In between those 4 minutes TV timeouts, the game's over.
Yes, the minute you breathe, they're taking advantage.
Yeah.
They do such a great job at it. 3 wins this tournament, 39 points, 17 points, and 30 points, dating back to their first game they played in last year's NCAA tournament. 9-0 straight up and against the spread. The closest win that they have had was by 13 points, laying 8.5 in this one against Illinois. We're going to hit the break here. Plenty more Lombardi Line ahead. Stay with us on VSiN.
The thrill and excitement of March Mania is here, and DraftKings Sportsbook, one of America's top-rated sportsbook apps, is giving new customers a shot to turn $5 into $150 instantly in bonus bets with any college basketball bet. New customers can bet $5 to get $150 instantly in bonus bets, only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code VSiN. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Or in West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus. Age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/bball for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources.
Elevate your sports betting game with VSiN's exclusive betting splits. Stay ahead with real-time market trends and track bet percentages on any matchup. Then uncover the edge by comparing them to the amount of bets placed to find out where the sharp money is headed. Upgrade to VSiN Pro to access betting splits, live odds, line moves, power ratings, and in-depth game analysis. Go to VSiN.com/pro to join VSiN, the sports betting network.
With less than a month to play in the regular season, things are getting quite interesting in the Western Conference. Let's take a look at the latest odds, courtesy of DraftKings. I'm Tim Murray from VSiN, the sports betting network. The Denver Nuggets still remain the favorites to win the Western Conference. Of course, won it last year, went on to win the title. They're at plus 140. Nikola Jokic leading the way. Likely another MVP for Jokic. Followed up by the Los Angeles Clippers, have been struggling as of late, sitting at plus 320 to win the West. Kawhi Leonard leads the team with 24 points per game. The Oklahoma City Thunder have had a phenomenal season. Still long shots to win the West this year at 8-1. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander averaging over 30 points per game. Phoenix Suns continue to struggle. They could be headed to the play-in, but they're still 9-1 to win the West. And the Minnesota Timberwolves are 13-1.
For more, head to VSiN.com.
Hey everybody, Mike Golick Jr. and Mike Golick Sr. here with some very exciting news. Our show, Gojo and Golick, can now be heard right here on VSiN.
Weekdays at noon Eastern, you're going to hear us give our takes on the biggest stories across the world of sports, make some predictions, and have a little fun.
That means he's going to talk about food. My dad's going to talk about food because that's the only thing that he's really passionate about.
I'm certainly not going to argue with that.
Catch Gojo and Golick at noon Eastern or 9 a.m. Pacific right here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
If you didn't catch Sharp Money, here's what you missed.
McCarthy's like that Ozempic pack, slow and steady. It's about systems, it's not about diets. And the Ozempic pack is about taking shortcuts. Let's just pop a pill and try to get skinny. What starts to happen is when people start to get geeked about something, others start to get thirsty and they start to get competitive. And so all of a sudden everybody's talking about J.J. McCarthy, and that's that Ozempic pack, right? It's like, dude, that's a shortcut to a Super Bowl. No, it's not. Hey, you saw plenty of McCarthy. I understand the size. I understand the pro day. The big guy would absolutely be spectacular in a pro day. So you don't need to look at a pro day, whether it be Caleb Williams or J.J. McCarthy. Again, McCarthy's on that Ozempic pack, and you can't steal it, big guy.
Sharp Money with Patrick Maher, weekdays at 3 p.m. Eastern on VSiN, the sports betting network.
This is the Lombardi Line with former NFL executive Michael Lombardi. Now here is your host, Stormy Buonantony, on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Only 2 days left to sign up on a VSiN Pro annual subscription with our latest deal for the first year. Only $199 compared to the usual $240 price. Get in there now and use our promo code Lombardi. That gets you pro access to everything we do for the entire year, which includes our daily best bets with a leaderboard to see which VSiN expert has the hot hand, betting splits to show you where the money and bets are moving for every game, betting systems, premium analysis, and 24/7 video access, plus access to our March Madness betting hub with picks for every game and round of the tournament as things advance. Remember, this offer expires Friday. Sign up today. VSiN.com/subscribe. Promo code Lombardi. VSiN Pro Access for only $199.
Do you disagree with these takes?
No way.
No way.
Or do you approve?
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. No doubt in my mind.
No diggity, no doubt. It's time to ask Michael Lombardi. No way or no doubt?
So every year, Michael, the NFL makes a variety of changes. This year, more radical change than we are accustomed to when it comes to the new NFL hybrid kickoff. Also, the ban on the hip drop tackle. You got a lot of players upset about it, saying you're watering down the league. What even is a tackle? No way or no doubt. The NFL is legislating defense and special teams out of the game. How do you feel?
No doubt. No doubt they are. They're trying to they want it to be a high-scoring affair. They don't really want special teams. They don't see the need for special teams. They don't understand special teams. And they would just rather have the offense have all the rules in their favor and go from there. And they don't understand the essence of the true game. And so all these rules are making it, and they do it under the disguise of player safety, when we're not sure that it's actually the case. And football is a three-dimensional game. You need to play good defense. Because, look, I've said this many times. The Patriots went 8 years without winning a Super Bowl after they lost to Denver in a divisional game. And they led the league in scoring 3 times. They never were lower than 8th in the league in scoring during that whole period. And yet they couldn't get over the hump. They lost 2 Super Bowls because they couldn't score in the key moments of games. So defense matters. And then they win 3 Super Bowls in 5 years and go to 4 Super Bowls because they really improved their defensive front and they improved their defense. So I think, to me, you can't take defense out of it, and you can't take the kicking game out of it.
It's the offense's world, and we're just living in it, it seems like, right now. Speaking of which, the quarterback position, the most important on the football field, and the QB1 in Dallas has some interesting things come up about his contract. Earlier this week, Ian Rappaport reporting there is no indication the Cowboys will complete an extension with Dak Prescott. No way or no doubt, Michael, Prescott will be the Cowboys quarterback to start the 2025 season.
No doubt. No doubt. I think
he's not going to hit the free agent market.
Wants to pay him. No, I don't think he will. I think Jerry will pay him. Look, he's got him. You know, it's funny. We were talking about this on the podcast. We were grading the players in the draft based on the verbiage of the grading system. And, you know, Dak is one of those players who's really good. He doesn't carry the team. He helps the team, right? And so, but he's paid like a guy who carries the team, and God bless him. You know, he's this version of Kirk Cousins without going through free agency. I mean, he leaves no money on the table, ever. You know, and this is why they're in this jam. I mean, his cap number's $55 million. And if they leave him, let him go, is his acceleration from redoing his deal. I mean, Dak has made a fortune and hasn't really produced wins in playoff games. He's no different than Kirk Cousins.
Dak Prescott and the Cowboys' season win total this year, 10.5. He's on the final year of his deal. Mike McCarthy on the final year of his as well. Speaking of Kirk Cousins, his former wide receiver, Justin Jefferson, looking to get the bag himself. And their head coach, Kevin O'Connell, talked about Jefferson's impact on the QB situation at this week's league meetings in Orlando. He said, I felt strongly about keeping Jefferson informed. He's been in the loop. He's been aware. He's allowed to articulate things to me via our relationship. And that's been through this whole process. No way or no doubt, Michael, Justin Jefferson deserves to have a say in the Vikings' next quarterback.
No way. I mean, all he should worry about just playing it, and he's going to get paid. Like let the coaches and the personnel guys handle that. He's got enough on his plate being a great player, and he's got to trust the people around him. It's no different than when you're playing in a basketball game and you see the open man, you pass the ball, or the open woman, you pass the ball, and you trust they're going to make the shot. He has to trust that the Vikings will do the right thing.
While there's no argument that Justin Jefferson is an elite wide receiver, he deserves to get paid. There's some wideouts who are getting paid a little more than they probably deserve at this point. And new Eagles, running back Saquon Barkley had something to say about that. Take a listen.
It's easy to say, like, what they're doing to the running backs is not fair. And I don't believe that. There's guys, I'm not taking shots of anybody, but, like, there's receivers and positions, like, who have 600, 500 receiving yards or this amount of stats, and like they're getting paid more than running backs, and it's like
it's bogus. It really is bogus.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But like even like same thing with tight ends. It's like you're not just a tight end. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and you got wide receivers that are probably making more money than you
with less production.
And and it's not fair.
And I did love, by the way, at the end of this comment coming from the New Heights podcast with Travis and Jason Kelsey. He said, if running backs want to get paid more, like, we got to earn it. We got to go out there and show why we deserve more. But no way or no doubt, Michael, elite running backs should be paid more than some of these middle-tier wide receivers.
No doubt. And I've been saying that forever. The analytical community has really been the one who hates running backs, And there is some merit to the fact that you can find backs. I don't disagree with that. Like I said about Bijan Robinson, I'm all for, I think the Falcons should have taken Carter over Robinson. However, when you get one who's dynamic at the right price and you're not using a high draft choice to get him and he can impact. Remember, Aaron Jones was a 5th-round pick and he can impact the passing game. Then you've got to pay the guy to the fair market, and he's more valuable than a third receiver. I mean, think about this. Last year, the Raiders carried Hunter Renfrow on their team at $16 million a year, and they struggled to want to pay Josh Jacobs. How does that make any sense at all?
That's like saying 1 plus 1 does not equal 2. That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you say, well, Josh Jacobs is going to have a shorter. Really? I mean, Hunter Renfrow has no career anymore. So it's like these inside receivers are getting it. And I thought what Barkley said about Kelsey, and he did it really in a great way. Kelsey's not a tight end. He's a wide receiver. He has been selfless in taking money. He could easily take more money and say, look, I want to get paid like Christian Kirk, who got a huge deal. I want to get paid like Calvin Ridley. But he kind of settles in the market to help the team. But he impacts the game, or did. I don't know if he continues to. But they deserve to get paid, and just like these running backs who can impact the passing game, they deserve to get paid.
Chris Ballard has heard all the negative comments about the Colts prioritizing re-signing their internal free agents versus going out and getting a big name in free agency. He responded and said, different is not always better. We just didn't spend on outside names. At the end of the day, we know who our players are. We thought our free agents were good players. ESPN's Stephen Holder did report that the Colts offered Danielle Hunter more than the Texans did, but Hunter chose Houston. No way or no doubt, though, when it comes to Chris Ballard, he should be criticized for not spending money on big-name outside free agents. Thoughts?
No way on that one. I think, look, I think that just because you didn't sign a big name doesn't mean you didn't improve your team. And I think what Chris did was take the money and put it in players he knows as the ones he didn't. He tried to sign Hunter. Obviously, that, the Tennessee, the Texas state free tax market really helped. So I think ultimately you can't control that. But what he needs to do is he needs to fix his team, right? So if you just bring back your team, are you really improved, right? You got to be able to get some other additions. They need secondary help. They passed on Snead because I think they were worried about his overall medical. Was he going to last the length of the contract? And then they were going to have to pay a high pick, which ended up not being true, for a guy that they were going to have to then pay a lot of money to. So for me, I think a lot is to be determined how he handles the next couple weeks.
One of my favorite quotes coming out of Orlando this week from Steelers reporter Mark Cavalli of The Athletic. He said on the Pat McAfee show, Mike Tomlin loves Russell Wilson. Loves him like you're looking at your little baby kid at home. He absolutely loves him. You hear things about potentially could Justin Fields beat him out. That's just not going to happen. He's going to have to fail catastrophically in season for there to be a move. No way or no doubt, Russell Wilson will be the Steelers' QB1 no matter what. Tomlin loves him.
I believe there's no doubt he'll be the starter because I think what Mark said is true. And I think by the way that the Steelers got this deal done so quickly, as I said, there had to be some kind of conversation between Tomlin and Wilson that Wilson liked what he heard. And I think he liked what he heard. So for me, I think there's no question.
I think that, like, barring an injury, Russell Wilson has to be the QB1 from day one. Because I just don't think that being a veteran and getting the reps that you get in preseason, that there's just not opportunity for him to lose that job in my brain. I don't know. I agree what he said, though. Something would have to go wrong in season for there to be a change.
Yeah, I just think, to me, Russell's experience, and Arthur's going to want somebody that he can count on. I mean, remember, Arthur's in a little bit of a shell shock world from Ritter's not protecting the ball. He starts to see Fields not protect the ball, he's going to have deja vu all over again, as Yogi said.
There you go. From day one, I'm just curious how long the leash will be for Russell Wilson. But yes, from day one, it certainly feels like his job. We'll be right back. Mike Palm joining us for the final 30 minutes.
The thrill and excitement of March Mania is here, and DraftKings Sportsbook, one of America's top-rated sportsbook apps, is giving new customers a shot to turn $5 into $150 instantly in bonus bets with any college basketball bet. New customers can bet $5 to get $150 instantly in bonus bets, only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code VSiN. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Or in West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus. Age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/bball for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources.
VSiN is thrilled to introduce a new VSiN.com tailor-made to the evolved needs of today's sports bettors. Our upgraded navigation streamlines your journey, allowing you to swiftly access articles, videos, and podcasts. Whether you're tuning in live or catching up on your favorite shows, everything is just a click away. VSiN.com guarantees a fluid and responsive experience across all devices, ensuring you stay connected wherever you are. We have enhanced tools such as our betting splits and expert picks, and introduce innovative features like parlay and odds calculators, all designed to make you a sharper bettor. Our how to bet section is perfect for beginners, covering the fundamentals, while seasoned bettors can delve into our advanced betting strategies for the competitive edge you've been looking for. Sign up for free on VSiN.com or become a VSiN Pro subscriber, where you can unlock unlimited access to every tool, expert picks, and insight that make VSiN the sports betting network.
If you didn't catch the handle, here's what you missed.
Look, the Chiefs had to just make a decision. Were they going to sign Chris Jones, or were they going to sign Ladarius Sneed? And I kind of agree with them. You go with Chris Jones here. He's just a disruptor in the middle of that defensive line. And so to me, it's good news here that they're able to move on from Sneed and get something back for him. This was a situation where if it extends into the regular season, you probably know you're not keeping him next year because you can't afford him next year. You don't get to do anything with the cap money. And now the Chiefs open up $19.8 million in cap money. They can go use that to sign somebody now. And we all talked about them needing a wide receiver. There's not a ton left on the market, but at least you have some money now to be able to go and make a couple moves if you do want to upgrade there. And the other part of this is Trent McDuffie. He's a very good cornerback. It's not like the cupboard is bare there for the Chiefs in the secondary. So I like the move from the Chiefs aspect of this. From the Titans side, look, you need players like Ladarius Sneed. So I think it's a positive for them as well.
The Handle with Matt Brown and Mike Somich. Weekends at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Looking for the ultimate sports betting podcasts? VSiN has got you covered. With a wide range of podcasts covering every major sport, we're here to help you make smarter bets every season. Hardwood Handicappers offers daily NBA analysis and picks from VSiN's top hosts and experts. And check out Long Shots, where we deep dive into the world of golf betting, providing you with expert insights to help you bet every tournament. Find all of these podcasts and more at VSiN.com/podcasts or your favorite podcast platform. Is your bracket busted? Let VSiN help you salvage this tournament by giving you the betting tools, advice, and picks you need. Every show is delivering daily picks, game breakdowns, and betting strategies direct from the VSiN experts. Check out our detailed betting splits for every game and sharpen your edge with daily articles and exclusive insights on VSiN.com. That's VSIN.com. Join us on VSiN to help make you a sharper bettor and become part of the Sports Betting Network.
This is the Lombardi Line with former NFL executive Michael Lombardi. Now here is your host, Stormy Buonantony, on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
There's never been a better time to have skin in the game with DraftKings Sportsbook, because right now we have a VSiN exclusive offer for new DK customers. You can earn a $500 bonus bet for every $1,000 you wager, up to $2,500 in bonus bets your first 3 days on DraftKings. Don't wait. Download the app now. Use our code Lombardi when you sign up. That's how you earn a $500 bonus for every $1,000 you wager right now.
Pressing? Yes, I say it's pressing.
This is Palms Pressing 3.
Now, my mother told me never to answer a question with a question.
Sir, my client has answered every question asked by this committee with the utmost sincerity.
Let's get into it. Palms Pressing 3.
Okay, Michael, let's start off with this major. I think this is a major rule change with the kickoff now, and I have several questions about it. I'm still trying to wrap my head around how this affects the game from a betting perspective. I assume that it's going to give better field position because you're between the 40 and the 30, and no more fair catch. From your perspective, did you like this rule change? How do you think it affects scoring in the game? And why didn't they just eliminate the kickoff and you start at the 25?
Well, because I think they wanted to make it an offensive game, and I really believe they think the ball will come out to the 30, 35. It'll make it a lot easier for the offense to move the ball. Everything is done with the idea to hurt the defense, every rule they put into place. So I don't like it because it takes out that, one of the greatest plays of all time were the onside kick in the Super Bowl that Sean Payton called, right? And so I think when you lose that play, you lose that strategy, and it affects the overall game. How are you going to gain an extra possession on the Chiefs? How will you gain an extra possession on the Bills or Miami or a team that you're really worried about playing that you feel undermanned? That takes away an advantage you might have. So I don't like it from that. I think the idea that it's going to stop violent collisions, I think, is wrong, because we know this. We see violent collisions in short spaces with these guys. It's going to be interesting, the players they select to play within this group and how they handle it. I think there'll be some deception, but I do think field position will change, and I think that's the ultimate effect of the rule.
How do you think they considered, or what would you think of with Stormy's leagues? Instead of the onside kick, you have a 4th and 12 or whatever. The Pro Bowl, you go 4th and 12 from your own 30 or 35, because this onside kick, this 3% is nonsense if you have no element of surprise, as you say.
Yeah, no, I get that, but I love the element of surprise. But I think, to me, why should a team who's built a 2-score lead have to defend a 4th and 12 to keep that lead? Like, it's got to be something. If you get behind by 2 scores, it should be really hard to come back in the game. It should be, you have to do something unique to get yourself back in the game. And the odds, and that's why we have those odds that show up, the win percentage, not that they're accurate, but the win percentage, this is going to be a challenging game for you to win. Everything has to go right. And I don't think you should increase the odds to make everything go right to benefit the team who fell behind.
Final thought on rules here, Michael. I wish they would put the chip in the ball. Why can't they put the chip in the ball and get the spots accurate, the field goals accurate, the punts out of bounds accurate? Why not embrace the technology?
I agree. But, Mike, can I have a palm pressing 3 back to you?
I'm like Judge Judy. I don't answer questions. I'm just kidding.
Who will call more of the illegal tackling? My man Scott Novak or your favorite official?
I think Scott Novak. Just because he wants to insert himself in the game through his crew. Although you make a good argument, because Brad Allen couldn't get the roughing the passer right. I mean, he made some horrific. Remember, like they They just tackled Rodgers one time around the waist. He screwed up the roughing the passer, which is the only thing that official has to do. Your referee has to do is roughing the passer, because they call more holding now from the umpire. Okay.
Hold on. I know you have two more questions, but because you brought up the technology, the UFL, they don't have a chip in the ball for the spotting. They'll still do normal official spot, but they do have like this visual technology for the first down to where you don't have to bring chains out there. So there's not going to be a chain gang that brings it out onto the field to measure. They have the visual spatial stuff that says if you got it or not. And up top, if they can tell a spot is wrong, they have the ability to come down and say, hey, you need to move it here.
Is Mike Pereira doing it? Is he going to be?
Mike Pereira and what's the younger guy's name? I can't think of his name right now, but he's also doing it from Fox.
Pereira's terrific on TV, by the way, and good to hang out with at the bar. He's a very entertaining guy.
He is.
Anyhow, I like it because of all this. You know, Michael, these guys coming in, these 65-year-old guys, and the zigzag. One guy's got the ball to 37. The other guy on the opposite side is there. I mean, just put it in. Forward progress is where the chip is, right? I mean, anyhow.
Dean Blandino.
Exactly.
That's
Dean Blandino, the younger good-looking guy there at the Fox. Anyhow, all right, Michael, let's get on to something that may be more in your wheelhouse. Right there in Philadelphia, in your backyard, Jake Rosenberg has announced he's leaving the Eagles. I didn't know who Jake Rosenberg was, but I've been reading these stories. He's their salary cap executive who specializes in the salary cap. So multiple-part question. Does every team have one of these salary cap executives? And how important is it that they are losing Jake Rosenberg?
Well, Jake Rosenberg was best friends with Howie Roseman. That's how he got the job. Howie Roseman was a salary cap analyst before he became the general manager. So Howie trained Jake to do that job. And certainly Jake brought wisdom and brain power to it. He was on Wall Street. He came from a financial background. He was good with numbers, so it plays within it. But at some point, Mike, the cap guy only can work numbers. Somebody has to put a dollar sign on the value of the player, right? Somebody has to say this guy's worth X, this guy's worth Z, this guy's is not worth what they're asking for. That really comes down to a combination of the personnel person and the salary cap guy understanding the market value. You go to your cap guy and say, okay, we think this player's in the top 8 at his position based on our grades. What should that salary be equated to? And then the cap guy comes in and says, okay, here's the market. Here's where we think the market could change. Here's where we're going to go. I think Jake wanted to get a GM job. He wasn't even getting any interviews, so he decided to leave. Howie gave him a lovely goodbye, but I think their relationship is still good, but he's a replaceable player within the framework of what they do.
Okay, final question, Michael. Why is the NFL just so much better at marketing their sport than the other big three? Here we sit, Michael, it's noon where you're at, and it's the opening day of baseball. We haven't had a pitch. They couldn't play in the dome stadiums. They try to run it up against the Sweet 16. It's Easter weekend. I mean, it's a disaster. Major League Baseball, this is a day they should own on their own. Can't do it. The NBA can't get their players to play. Fans buy tickets. The stars don't play a third of the game. It's ridiculous. Yet the NFL pivots. They say we're not going to play on Christmas next year. The ratings are through the roof. We're going to have a doubleheader on Christmas. Hooray for Survivor, right? That makes our even twin. Why is the NFL just so much better?
Well, because I think the NFL is run by the owners. The owners run their league, and they're not afraid to say things that they need to do to make their league the best it can be. They vote for what they use the term the good of the league. Whereas in the NBA, they want it to be for the good of the players because the players are the league, which there's no question the players are the league in the NBA, but you got to have a working partnership with the players. You've got to have the ability to get your players to play. Once again, if you pay for a Broadway ticket and you go to the matinee, okay, you might get the stand-in, but if you go to the Saturday night show at 8 o'clock, you expect the star to be there. You can't expect the star to be there. I mean, look, you go pay tonight, Bruce Springsteen's going to pay at the Chase Center in San Francisco. It's sold out, right? Is somebody going to play the lead guitar in that show? No, of course not. He's going to play. You know, he's going to play. You're paying to see him play. I'm paying to go watch players on the 70, but they don't play. And so fans get frustrated and they lose their enthusiasm. And plus, let's face it, football's chess on grass. It combines strategy with violence. And who doesn't love that?
Michael, is that why you get annoyed at, just the element of the new kickoff that you feel is gimmicky to an extent because the NFL is already so good at so many things? Why are you trying to change for the sake of change?
Why are you messing with it?
Yeah.
Why are you messing with something that's already good? Like, you don't need to change anything. And I thought the owners would not, but the commissioners all on the player safety thing. Look, Malcolm Gladwell 10 years ago said that the NFL stadiums would be like the Roman Coliseum. They would be all empty. It's a fact. He said that. Football was going to go away. And football has got nothing but stronger. There were some people, Mark Cuban included, that thought the NBA would take over the NFL. Mark Cuban no longer owns the Mavericks. He sold them. So I think this league is going to stay around. And it's so popular. Wait till you see what they pay to get the rights to have the games on Christmas Day. That's going to be incredible. And it's going to the players, too. Let's not forget that.
Yeah, your comments about Christmas, the fear for Survivor that you're not going to have games and now you get a doubleheader.
Yeah, you can't just have 2 games somewhere. You got to make it at least 3. Now we can do the 2 Christmas Day with the Thursday the next day.
So, Paulie, have you had a chance to read the VSiN Daily yet?
Yeah, came in at 3 a.m. What's Bill doing?